Hey. I'm a little early just to say hi to people. Maybe you could drop in the comments. Where are you from and what are you building? Where are you from and what are you building? So where are you from would be like, where do you live? And what are you building? Well, it might be anything, right? Might be a business, might be a brand, might be a product, might be an opportunity, might be a life, might be a marriage, might be a family. Where are you from and what are you building? Tell me that. If you don't know, I'm Richard Blissbrook and I'm in Lanai, Hawaii, and I'm a little bit lonely today because most of this week we've had Tom and Denise Chenault here and Jordan Adler here, and we had a staycation. That's when you have other people come and visit you, so you don't have to go anywhere. And we had a blast, and we got in some deep conversations, and we did a lot of coaching and brainstorming and laughed a lot, cried a little bit, and all that good stuff. Nice green screen. You like that, Jordan? You see the sort of the aura around my head? Hey, Kat Ritter from Spokane. Oh, Spokane. Good to see you. Hello, Facebook user from Houston, Texas. Thanks for joining me. I got a short message for you this morning. Might be something you could share, could be valuable for you. And I got it in two segments. So the last segment, is an advertisement. So you may not want to watch that. Hello, Paul. Thanks for your support. I guess if you comment on Facebook, I can't see who you are on StreamYard, which is kind of a bummer. But we got Punta Gorda in the house. And Cincinnati in the house. So tell us where you're from and what are you building? Where are you from and what are you building? So for those of you that are just getting on, my name is Richard Blissbrook, and I'm coming to you live from Lanai, Hawaii. And I'm feeling kind of lonely today because Tom and Denise Chenault and Jordan Adler just left, and we spent the week with them having fun and creating awesome futures. And good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Facebook user. All right, so here's what I got to tell you this morning. Here's my message. I got a slide for you and a link for you that you're going to want to hold precious. Not to probably, I don't know, you might want to promote it. Kind of depends on your audience, but I'm thinking you want to hold it in your back pocket for the right time. Now, I have a philosophy about overcoming objections. And my philosophy, which came after decades of hard-fought winning and losing arguments with people, my philosophy is that there's no cheese down the tunnel of overcoming objections. So somebody says to you, I don't have time to do this. And you say, well, do you sleep about 8 hours a day? Do you work about 8 hours a day? And they go, yeah, I guess. And then you pounce on them and you say, well, you got 72 hours a week free time. What are you doing with that? Right? And people say, well, I'm too busy. And so you say, well, it's just a matter of priorities. We all have the same amount of time every day. It's just a matter of priorities. Your priorities are obviously out of whack. Or somebody says, I don't have the money. And what I used to tell people a long time ago when they said, I don't have the money, is I'd say, well, imagine you were arrested unfairly. Like you got pulled over in a traffic stop and you got thrown into jail and it's unfair. Like it wasn't right. You didn't deserve to be in jail and you needed $500 to get out of jail. Would you spend the $500 to get out of jail? And they, well, of course, right? Well, I'm providing you an opportunity to get out of the jail of your life, to get freedom, to get out there and be somebody in the world. So Take the $500 you'd use to get out of jail and give it to me for freedom. And I had 100 other really cool ways to overcome objections. But you know what it basically did is just an argument, right? It's kind of like liberals arguing with conservatives. That's just about the stupidest thing on the planet, or vice versa, right? It doesn't go anywhere. So all of that to say, what I've gravitated to is a concept I call listening through objections. So somebody gives you an objection, and instead of looking to overcome it, you look to listen through it, which is kind of based on the seek to understand before you seek to be understood. And so what would that look like? Well, somebody says, for example, what I'm going to give you a tool for today is somebody might say, oh, those things that you're building, those are just pyramid schemes. Those are illegal. Those are bad, fraudulent company. Well, the Federal Trade Commission says, those are, pyramid schemes maybe, and they're fraudulent, right? So you could respond, no, they're not. They're not either. You could say, well, how about it? Your company is the guy or gal on top of your company where you work for a living. Do they make more money than you? And then does the next layer under them make a little bit less, but a lot more than you? And do the people on the bottom make the least amount of money? Well, yeah. Well, that's a pyramid scheme. Or what about the U.S. government, right? That's a pyramid scheme. And there's even a picture of a pyramid on all of our currency. So everything's a pyramid scheme, you idiot. Now sign here. That doesn't work. What works is somebody says, oh, that's a pyramid scheme. Now, if you're confident in your business model, like you're grounded, like nobody can push you around, nobody can put a dent in your conviction. You don't have your own stories in your head about, oh, I wonder if I am building a pyramid scheme. What if this is not very legitimate? Well, then you need to do something like read Beach Money or The 4-Year Career, or read it 100 times, read it till you can teach it, and build up your own conviction so people can't push you around, right? So when somebody says, well, I think maybe that's a pyramid scheme, you don't actually get reactionary. You kind of drop into a peaceful, convicted place where you have the ability to be curious, seek to understand. And you ask people, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by a pyramid? Can you explain how you see that? Because actually, when people say pyramid scheme, they could mean one of three things. They could mean that it's illegal, and if I do it, I go to jail. They could mean it's dysfunctional, like it, from a mechanical standpoint, actually doesn't work. Like, they think saturation. Well, if everybody did that, pretty soon everybody in the world would be in your company and there would be no one left to sell to. And if I was being a smartass, I would say, that actually sounds like the objective, right? If I have 7.5 billion people on my team all using my products, I think I'm good to go, right? But they don't see it that way. Or the third way is they could just see it as immoral, like it's taking advantage of people. Maybe it works. Maybe it's actually legal, but it takes advantage of people. So how do you know what they mean by pyramid scheme unless you ask them and then you actually listen, like take it all in, seek to understand, keep asking until you understand. Now, I call that listening through objections. I don't know, maybe if Susie has a link to that training, or maybe you can find it on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it's there. You can find it somewhere. So once you have listened through objections, once you have really understood where people are coming from and people feel safe around you, like you're not going to argue with them and beat them over the head and make them wrong and stupid, you might have an opportunity to ask them, well, what if I could show you a different viewpoint on that? Are you open to seeing a different possibility, like a different perspective on things? Then they might say, well, yeah, okay. Only if you've listened to them, which might take 10, 15, 20 minutes. It might take 3 conversations. I don't know. So if you ever got an opportunity to show them your perspective, then you might show them this slide. So I did a little research and I came up with this slide. Well, actually, Susie did. So what I researched was, who are the top 100 companies, I'm pretty sure based in the United States, but it might have been the world, that are corrupt, meaning they have been sued by a government agency, they have been found guilty, and they paid a fine. Okay. Now, I know this doesn't necessarily mean they're pyramid schemes, but Bernie Madoff's deal's got to be in here somewhere, right? Which went on for like 25 years. Bernie Madoff was the president of the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ or something. He was president of every investment association known to man, and he ran a pyramid scheme for 25 years, and he cost people tens or hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I don't know if any of these are actually pyramid schemes, but corrupt, same thing, right? Pyramid, corrupt, pretty much the same thing. So here's what I found. The top 100 corrupt companies paid a total of $576 billion. That's hard to even fathom how much $1 billion is, but here's a way to quantify it. If I had freshly minted $1,000 bills, which probably haven't even seen in 30, 40 years, and I stacked them one on top of each other. So freshly minted means they lay really flat on top of each other. I'd have $1 million in 8 inches. 8 inches of $1,000 bills. That's $1 million. Oh, got a storm coming. So I could actually take $500,000, put it in each of my coat pockets or pant pockets or my purse, and I'd have $1 million. What's the power of $1 million? Well, you could invest $1 million and make $100,000 a year just in interest, just in ROI for the rest of your life, for the rest of your children's lives, for the rest of your grandchildren's lives, generation upon generation upon generation, and never touch the $1 million. That's some serious horsepower, serious freedom, right? That's $1 million. $1 billion is the same bills over 665 feet high. It's higher than the Empire State Building. It's 111 feet higher than the Washington Monument. I mean, it's like, that's $1 billion. These guys paid $576 billion in fine through a total of 9,288 cases. 9,000 lawsuits. And guess how many of them were direct selling companies or network marketing companies? None. Not one. Now, have companies paid fines? Yeah, Herbalife, I think, set the record. They paid a $200 million fine. They changed their compensation plan a little bit. And guess what's Herbalife's done since that 2-year investigation by the Federal Trade Commission, changed the compensation plan and paid a $200 million fine, which for them is like nothing because they make like $500 million a year in net profit. Okay, 1 year, half our net profit. Here you go. Guess what Herbalife's done since they paid that fine and changed their compensation plan and got beyond the Federal Trade Commission? They have grown every quarter in the last 4 years. They hit record sales in their 40-year history in 2021 after being indicted and being guilty and paying a fine, $200 million. But that doesn't even scratch the scratch. That doesn't even make the list. Look at the list. Look at these companies and how many records and look at their fines. Who tops the list? Bank of America, $82 billion, 264 lawsuits. JP Morgan Chase, one of the oldest financial institutions in the world, right? $36 billion. BP, that's the oil company that spilled oil all over the Gulf of Mexico and ruined the shrimping industry and everything else. Volkswagen, which intentionally defrauded everybody around their catalytic converters. Citigroup, Wells Fargo, which like defrauded people intentionally on their mortgages. Goldman Sachs, Johnson & Johnson, what do they make? Oh, I don't know, products that are like illegally marketed, fraudulent claims. Bayer, guess who Bayer makes? Bayer owns Roundup. Roundup itself is paid like, I don't know, billions and billions of dollars in fines for killing people with their weed eater. Look at all these companies. Now, my question to you is, and if I had the right opportunity, I might ask the question of my prospect, Do you do business with any of these companies? Are you a consumer of any of these products? Right? Do you even know how corrupt they are? Do you even know how many billions in fines, how many times they've been sued? And you keep buying their stuff, right? Without even thinking about it. Right? Some of you might even work. Like, do you even work for any of these companies? Right? You probably do. Like, look at all of them. I'll post the link. Mitsubishi made the top 100. But guess who's not on this list? Any direct selling, any network marketing, any MLM company is not on this list, right? Because none of them have ever paid $1 billion, not even close. Why? Well, because we're not that big a deal when it comes to fraud. So that's the tool I have to offer you today in 14 minutes. Take the infographic, take the link to all these companies. I don't know, you might promote it depending on your audience, but you might just hold it in your back pocket to the time when you listened through somebody's objection to the point where they actually said, okay, I'll check you out. I'll listen to your point of view. Tell me what you got. And then you can show them the infographic and you can show them the link and you can say, really, let's look at all these companies. How many of these companies do you do business with? How many of these companies do you work for or have you worked for? And you know what? Yeah, network marketing is not perfect. There's 700 companies based in the United States. There's 3,000 companies based around the world. And in any 10-year cycle, there's 10 times that many companies that come and go. Yeah, there's a few companies that got their wrist slapped for being too aggressive, for being fraudulent, but actually being a pyramid scheme. Here's a clue for you. There's not actually a federal regulation on the books anywhere that defines pyramid schemes. There are states that define it by looking at particular companies, but there's no federal regulation that defines a pyramid scheme. In other words, when it comes to federal law in the United States of America, there's no such thing as a pyramid scheme. There's slang. And regulators like the Federal Trade Commission like to say, suspected pyramid scheme. But if you ask the Federal Trade Commission to prove in court what is a pyramid scheme, they can't, because there's no federal definition of it. Just like they couldn't prove that Herbalife was a pyramid scheme. That's not what Herbalife paid the fine for. They put our Advocare out of business, but Advocare and the FTC never proved they were a pyramid scheme. They just alleged they were a pyramid scheme. Same thing with BEMA. So those are the three big cases in the last 10 years. And the Federal Trade Commission never proved that any of them were a pyramid scheme. So I'm not suggesting you use that information with your prospect. I'm suggesting you use that information for your own conviction, your own peace, your own stability. So when somebody comes along and says, oh, that's a pyramid scheme, they can't push you over because you're a pushover about your own profession. And that's all I have to say about that. And now if you want to stay around for my advertisement, you can, or you can adios, and that's cool with me too. But if you're in my tribe or you want to be in my tribe, and I mean people that I coach on a certain philosophy about how to build a network marketing organization, then check out what I'm doing, because I've been working on this for a couple of years. I'm launching it right now. It might be of interest to you. And it would start like this. If you have ever been through any of my paid programs, like here's some names that might ring a bell to you: Run Through Rank, the 90-day game changer for Arbonne, 90 Days to Momentum with Shackley, Run Through Rank with Young Living, Momentum Masterclass, which is generic. Lots of people have gone through that. Or if you've gone through any of my A Bliss Life seminars or Mach 2 transformation programs, then once you've gone through them once, I consider you alumni. And how I have treated alumni when I do courses ongoing is I discount what it costs for alumni to go through the course again. Why? Well, because going through a course once does not, all it really is kind of an opportunity meeting. It's an introduction to the subject. It doesn't create mastery. And what we all ought to be looking for is mastery. is getting to the point where we've waxed on and waxed off enough. Karate Kid, go watch that movie again if you don't know what I'm talking about. So that when somebody throws something at us, our natural tendency is to block the shot. Why? Because we've waxed on and waxed off enough. You don't do that by going through one seminar. You do it by going through the seminar and practicing the art and studying and practicing and implementing until you have mastery. And how do you know you have mastery? Well, you've produced the intended result that the course gave you, and you can teach it. Until you can teach it, you really don't have mastery. So I let alumni just keep going through and keep going through and keep going through at a discounted program. So for the last couple of years, I've been creating this, which is Momentum Mentorship. And what mentorship is if you've been through one of my courses once, well, you can not only stay in that course, you can have access to that course forever, but every time I do the course again, and I do most of my courses when I relaunch them, I at least do some of it live and I reinvent it. It's done differently. You can always be in the course just like you were the first time, or you can study it on your own time anytime you want. And that includes the actual subjects, but it also includes the coaching sessions, because when I do a course, about 50% is content and about 50% is coaching people that are in the program, live champion chair coaching. And so if you're in mentorship, you can study those coaching sessions individually. They're in the program. They're all edited to individual people, like 15, 20-minute pieces that you can study. And in mentorship, my 90-minute webinars are broken up into modules, so they're a lot easier to consume. So I created this program over the last couple of years, which really only, once I got serious about it, only took like 3 weeks to create, right? And I launched it a couple of weeks ago. One of the things I did for those of you that are in Momentum Masterclass is I broke Momentum Masterclass up into 3 different products. And the reason I did that, for those of you that have been through Momentum Masterclass or Game Changer, or 90 Days to a Momentum, or Run Through Rank, is that 60 or 90-day program was all about, first of all, creating your own 1-minute miracle, your own story about how you got involved with your product and your opportunity, and then tell that story once a day for 60 or 90 days to build momentum. That's the basic essence of the program. And what I found over doing this for a couple of years is that people would oftentimes spend the entire 60 days just understanding how to tell their story, getting confident telling their story, getting a video with their story told compliantly but compellingly, and done within 1 minute, which is critically important. And the reason for a 1-minute miracle, folks, is if I just ask you to tell me why you got involved with your product or your company, and I'm a typical prospect, you, if you're a typical distributor, I don't mean that you are, but most typical distributors, they're still talking 10 or 15 minutes later. I quit listening about 13 or 14 minutes ago. And the last 13 or 14 minutes of you talking mostly is non-compliant, right? So compliance is huge today. And so is attention span. And so is having a tool, right? So if you have to tell your story over and over and over again, every time somebody asks you, well, you can't scale that. That's not leverage. That's not efficient. So I teach people to create a 1-minute miracle. And why miracle? Because we teach you how to use hyperbole, which is miracle, instead of a claim that's non-compliant. More about that in the course. We teach you how to put that story in a very precise structure, the 5 C's of telling a story to a prospect, which is different than just telling a story. We're telling a story to a prospect for network marketing. There's a different design for that. We teach you how to tell that story in 5 quick parts in 1 minute, and then record it authentically, not reading it, but record it authentically, passionately, positively, with the right camera, the right lights, all that kind of stuff. And then once you do that, you have a tool, right? And once you have a tool, you don't have to tell your story over and over again. You can scale your story and tell it all over the world 24/7. The challenge is it takes about 30 to 40 to 60 days sometimes to teach people just to get that story. And the whole time, the launch part of Momentum Masterclass was, hey, get out there and tell your story every day. So the two sort of conflicted. So I broke them into 2 pieces. And now the storytelling part is called Pre-Launch, and that's a 4-week program. And I'm launching the next one of those in early April. The 60-day momentum program, once you have your story, is called Launch. And I'm launching another one of those in mid-April. And then the third piece is leadership. And that's for people that have a team. They have a team of 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. Tom Chenault, thanks, Tom, for being here, has 1 million people on his team. I think Jordan Adler has 411,000 people. I asked him why he was here. How many people have ever joined your team on Send Out Cards? And he said 411,000. And Jordan has this really cool graphic that I'm going to start using in Momentum Masterclass about telling his story once a day. And that's how Jordan built his empire. He just told his story once a day. Yes, once a day, on average, 5 days a week. And over 18 years, he told his story, what do we figure, about 5,000 times. And about 600 people joined. And about half of them are still customers. And out of the half that are still customers, about 60 of them built teams. And out of the 60 that built teams, he has 411,000 people on his team. So that's just the way the business works. You know, you can dress it up any way you want. You can teach it however you want. But that's the essence of network marketing. And, you know, some will, some won't. And you just got to keep sorting until you find the people that do. And that's what Momentum Masterclass is all about, is to put you and I in a place with the right tools and the right coaching, and the right systems. So we actually want to tell our story every day. We're not afraid to tell it. We want to tell it. And that's the holy grail of network marketing. If you can become a network marketer, if you can become an ambassador of your product and your company with the right tools, you can scale your storytelling so that you can actually, over time, enroll 80 to 100 people on your team. And when you do that and fan the fire, if you got good products and you're in a decent opportunity, 4 or 5 years later, you're going to have a bunch of people, 416, 64, 256, 1,024, 4,096 on your team. And you're going to earn enough money. You may not earn what Tom Chenault and Jordan Adler earn, or Kimmy earns, but you'll earn enough money. You'll be successful. So Momentum Mentorship is all now delivered, not on Facebook. So I moved everything off of Facebook effective April, and I'm on my own platform where everything is piecemealed out. You can study everything forever. You don't have to get involved in Facebook to do it. There's audio tracks of everything, so you can listen while you work out, listen while you hike, listen while you do housework, to these modules over and over and over again. All kinds of tools and assets, ongoing access to pre-launch, if that's what you're an alumni of, launch if you're an alumni of that, leadership if you're alumni of that. I'm also doing weekly live coaching calls for all those alumni people. A growing library of all those coaching sessions. So if you just fast forward a year from now, there'll probably be 100, 150 individual people in there that I've coached. You can go study all those coaching sessions, and you can raise your hand to be coached yourself. So who's it right for? Well, if you're just a customer, you're not actually on this live listening to me, and mentorship is definitely not for you. If you're a casual enroller, it's not for you until or unless you decide, hey, I'm going to actually build network marketing intentionally. I'm going to actually do what the people in my company have done. I'm going to build this instead of, you know, just playing around with it like a cat with a toy. It's for intentional enrollers, and it's for leaders. And of course, the big question is, how much is it? Now, I left some slides out here, but normally Momentum Mentorship would be $4,979 a month. Normally. I mean, that's how much value is in there. All those things that I told you about each have a value that I made up of thousands of dollars each. But just imagine the $4,970 has a big red line through it, because I'm, as a favor, actually Tom and Jordan asked me as a favor if I would discount mentorship for their teams. And how could I discount it for their teams if I didn't discount it for everybody? So it's not $4,997. No, not today. It could be $497 a month, But no, not today. Today only, big red slash through 497. Could be 197, no big red slash through that. It is so discounted as to be ridiculously low for you to enroll today, just for you, my gift. This is my gift to you, for you to give me $47 a month. You see how that works? It's my gift, my favor to you. And in return, you give me $47 a month. Now, why would you do that? Well, there's lots of programs you can subscribe to, and many of you are probably subscribed to libraries, programs where you have ongoing training, ongoing resources. And I'm not suggesting mine is any better than any of those. It's just different. And if my philosophies and my style resonate with you, then is $47 a month a good investment for you? Well, if you're building intentionally a team, what's the best investment you could make? Because if you study, wax on and wax off to the point where you gain some mastery, well, all you'd have to earn is $47 a month to get 100% return on your investment. And if you earned like $200 a month, you get a 200% return. But most of you know, if you study this kind of stuff and you implement it, well, you could take that $47 and turn it into $470, $4,700. Some people could even turn it into $47,000. Now, all disclaimer and transparency aside, that's like 1 in 475,000 people. So you don't have a prayer of earning $47,000 a month, but you could. And so for those of us that understand investing in us, I personally invested $300,000 in my own personal transformation so that I could become a masterful network marketer and coach and leader. So if your intention is pure, if you're committed, if you have a clear vision, if you know where you're going, this kind of investment is nothing. If you're confused about where you're going, if you're not committed, if you like to just throw money at stuff and get in stuff and then not execute, not practice, not study, this is a total waste of money. Don't do it. So that's what I have to say today in 31 minutes, which is a record for me to cover all of that content that quickly. Thank you for joining me. If any of this inspires me, share it, and I will be eternally grateful for you doing so. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Facebook user who will remain anonymous. Jamie's adding value that I forgot. Okay. Love that. All right, gang, have a beautiful Saturday. I'm going to go play in a golf tournament with my wife. Over and out.